Rachel Zegler, who stars as Snow White, condemned Prince Charming as weird and a stalker, adding that she hates the original. Nice start.
Snow White was supposed to be a guaranteed hit. With a massive $250 million budget and the full power of Disney's marketing machine behind it, the film was expected to be the next big thing. But instead, it turned into a box office disappointment and got a fierce backlash from fans. Let's start with the numbers, because they tell a story themselves. Disney hoped for a 9-figure global debut, but Snow White limped to a disappointing $87 million worldwide in its opening weekend. In the US, the movie only managed $43 million, well below the $50 million Disney had been aiming for. Considering the film's enormous budget, these numbers weren't just disappointing, they were catastrophic. Photos and videos of empty theaters playing Snow White spread fast online, making things worse and giving critics more reasons to make fun of what many people already thought was a clear flop. And here's the thing, if you've been on social media at all in the last few months, you'd know that a lot of people wanted this movie to fail. The film's struggles were quickly branded as another example of the so-called "go woke, go broke" trend, where studios face backlash for trying to modernize classic stories. Snow White, in particular, sparked outrage by updating its story and diversifying its cast, with Rachel Zegler, who is of Colombian descent. Some conservative critics didn't waste a second before celebrating the movie's flop as a victory lap against what they viewed as Disney's forced progressiveness. But here's where things get interesting. According to box office analysts, the anti-woke backlash might not be the main reason the movie flopped. David A. Gross, who runs the movie consultancy franchise said bluntly that the problem wasn't political, it was the movie itself. He pointed out that reviews were lackluster across the board, with a weak 43% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Even though the audience score was a bit better at 74%, that wasn't enough to save the film. Gross explained that a B+ cinema score, while not terrible, wasn't great either, especially for a Disney family film that's supposed to blow audiences away. The movie isn't completely satisfying to the audiences who are attending, Gross said. That has nothing to do with woke. The movie simply isn't connecting creatively on the level of a big Disney hit. In other words, even if you took all the political controversy out of the equation, Snow White might still have been a flop, because it just didn't hit the mark. Critics didn't hold back either. The Guardian, a center-left news site that's usually pretty sympathetic to progressive causes, called the film a misguided and hollow attempt at modernizing the classic tale. Another critic slammed it as missing charm and depth, and someone else harshly wrote that it was made by people with cartoon dollar signs for eyes and not even the tiniest glimmer of art in their souls. The Snow White remake faced challenges before its release. Reports confirm reshoots to address fan backlash, such as replacing CGI dwarves with human actors, and delays from the 2023 Hollywood strikes disrupted the schedule. Director Mark Webb faced the difficult task of modernizing the 1937 classic while preserving its charm, a balance complicated by Disney's push for a less romantic, more empowered Snow White. This narrative shift required significant script adjustments, contributing to the film's $270 million budget. This isn't a one-off problem for Disney either. Snow White is the 14th live-action remake Disney has cranked out in the last decade, and it's starting to look like audiences are getting tired of them. Out of those 14, only 3 have cleared the billion-dollar mark worldwide, and the trend is clearly heading downward. As Paul Dergarabedian, a box office analyst at ComScore, put it, was it destined to be a $100 million opener? Probably not. While the numbers were bad, the online backlash made it worse, especially for Rachel Zegler. Zegler, who became famous for her role in West Side Story, found herself at the center of harsh criticism that went beyond her acting. Since she was cast as Snow White, her past comments about the 1937 movie came back to bite her. In interviews, she had criticized the original film for being outdated and said she was excited to make Snow White more modern and independent. Even though she probably just wanted to bring something new to the character, Many fans saw it as disrespectful to the classic movie. When Snow White's dismal box office numbers came out, the internet wasted no time piling on. An old video clip resurfaced of Zegler confidently saying that people would wait in line to see her movies. That clip became a meme overnight, shared by critics with captions like, "No one waited in line to see Snow White." The backlash was relentless, with social media posts mocking her and headlines like "Welcome back to reality, princess" going viral. To make matters worse, photos of empty theaters and quiet screenings made their rounds online, painting a grim picture of a film that couldn't attract an audience no matter how hard it tried. Zegler had addressed some of the backlash back in 2022, saying in a Variety interview with Andrew Garfield, "When it got announced, it was a huge thing that was trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry. I never in a million years imagined that that would be a possibility for me. You don't normally see Snow Whites of Latin descent, even though Snow White is a big deal in Spanish-speaking countries. But you don't particularly see people who look like me or are me playing roles like that." While her comments were meant to highlight the importance of diversity, critics saw them as part of the problem, accusing her of fueling the controversy further. Despite all the negativity, Disney isn't freaking out. Believe it or not, the company has a long-term plan that's more than just box office numbers. David Gross explained that even if Snow White barely pays back its huge budget at the theaters, Disney can still make money from other sources. Streaming, merchandise, theme parks, it's all part of what Disney insiders call the flywheel effect. Theatrical releases are just the beginning. The real money often comes later. Take Halloween, for example. You can be sure that Snow White costumes, toys, and themed products will still sell, even if the movie wasn't a big hit. Plus, once the film hits Disney+, it'll attract families who missed it in theaters. And don't forget Disney's theme parks, where Snow White has been a big part for years. So this flop might hurt now, but Disney's big enough to handle it and keep moving on. That said, the Snow White flop is making Disney do some serious thinking. The studio has been playing it safe for years now, leaning heavily on sequels, reboots, and remakes rather than taking creative risks. It's a strategy that has worked sometimes. Disney had the 3 biggest movies of 2024, all of which were sequels, but it's clear that the formula isn't foolproof. Audiences keep saying they want originality. But as box office analyst Paul Dergarabedian pointed out, original movies often struggle to find a big audience unless they're part of a rare breakout hit like Barbie or Oppenheimer. So, where does that leave us? Snow White's failure is a mix of things. A movie that didn't connect well, a lead actress caught in controversy, and a public that's growing tired of Disney remaking everything. The anti-woke crowd might feel like they won, but the real story is more complicated. Disney took a big risk with a familiar story, tried to make it modern, and ended up with something that didn't please many people. Whether it's because audiences are tired of remakes, frustrated with Disney's brand, or just didn't like the movie, one thing's clear. This wasn't the happy ending Disney hoped for. Snow White's flop might have made Disney rethink its creative plans, since a lot of people are getting tired of all the live-action remakes. Even though Disney hasn't said anything official yet, they're probably looking closely at upcoming movies like Lilo and Stitch and Hercules to avoid making the same mistakes. As for Rachel Zegler, the backlash might make things harder for her for a while, but her strong performance in West Side Story shows she has the talent to bounce back. In the end, Snow White's flop and the backlash against Rachel Zegler are a warning to Hollywood. It shows that even the biggest studios with the most money and famous brands can't guarantee success. They have to earn it with good storytelling, creativity, and respect for their audience. As for Disney's next move, everyone's watching their next release closely. After this failure, the pressure is higher than ever. I hope you liked the video. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And in the meantime, what do you think about Snow White and Rachel Zegler? Did Disney make the right decision? Let me know in the comments below.